Jordan's a really good quarterback, but they're not scoring a ton. They're in a lot of close games. Now, my interpretation is this is the youngest offense in the league. It's almost collegiate. It's 23 or 24 and 25. Seattle's a little bit of this. Seattle's really young. They're finding themselves. And sometimes, this is early for Jordan. It still hasn't played that many games. What do you see now? People say, well, they lost here. They're close here. I think Jordan Love is an exceptional quarterback. He's not Allen, but he's exceptional. What does the tape say?
It's his only third year as a starter, which is probably hard for people to believe. It's not as if he's a 10-year pro. He's a third-year starter. I think one thing that I've really noticed on tape, and when I watched him this week, I even said to one of my guys, in the matchup room, I said, I think he's a little bit less reckless now, and he's become a little more efficient in how he plays. Every once in a while, he'll throw one and you go, maybe he shouldn't have done that. But I think the way he's playing is a little more refined, a little less reckless, a little more efficient. So there's not as many big plays, which maybe is the reason they're not necessarily scoring as many points. They've gotten the run game going the last couple of weeks. But I think they're sort of settling into being a team that can win multiple ways. They can win with the run game. They can win with efficient passing. They can win with big play passing. And I think it will continue to come together. But the tape really shows a quarterback that I believe is just maturing.
Yes. And another way to say this is that he's playing within the system, not beyond. He's playing within the offense. He's playing how Matt LaFleur wants him to play rather than trying to play beyond that. And to me, what really highlights this is he's right now one of the most protected quarterbacks in terms of pressure rate and whatnot. They've been doing a beautiful job of protecting him, and yet his time to throw is kind of just right there in the middle. And so he's not getting rid of the ball real quick. He's not rushed. He's not holding on to the ball. He actually has time in the pocket, but he's not holding on to the ball too much. He's not just hoping for something bigger. He's making his read. He's being decisive. It's just incredibly balanced, which is mature, right? Which is mature, which is what I'd been screaming for going into this season. I kept saying last season, everything felt so slippery. It felt like the Packers were playing like they were, slipping in on ice right now. Everything just didn't feel smooth. It didn't feel within rhythm of each other. And it's like, that's what I want to see. I want to see Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love together. I want to see this offense look like they're connected together, that Jordan Love is running the offense how Matt LaFleur is envisioning it. And that's exactly what we're seeing. And because I already know Jordan Love can do that through the roof, right? There's not a single throw that Jordan Love can't make, right? There's really not a single play that Jordan Love can't make. It was always about how do you execute and run the offense? How do you manage the game? Which is why, someone like me is harder on him for, say, throwing an interception at an inopportune time, or even when he was scrambling and he threw the one interception last week, because it's like, that's poor game management. It's not to say that you're never going to be able to throw an interception. You're allowed to throw interceptions. Quarterbacks do it all the time, but it's just like, you burn a little bit of that with some of your track record, and it's just like management. When the Green Bay Packers are in the playoffs, I'm not going to doubt Jordan Love's big play ability, his ability to get the job done, to make the throw in the crucial moment. But the one question mark that you could be anxious about is, can he manage the game? It's like in this moment, you just can't take a sack, or in this moment, you can't turn the ball over. Do you have the confidence that he can do that aspect? And that's the part that he's maturing into. That's the part that he's growing and evolving. And that's ultimately how you're going to win the most amount of games. It's not going to be by the heroics of Jordan Love. That's why they're building the team that they built. That's why they went, they took a big swing on defense and drafted a wide receiver, right? Like, they're saying, we're not just putting this all on the shoulders of Jordan Love. And so it's a great place to be in. So I Jordan Love has been wildly impressive, and it's just so funny because this is the momentum of the NFL, and part of it is also just who the Green Bay Packers had played so far. But they obviously had so much momentum, and everybody was talking about how great this team is, and Jordan Love, not as much, but a little bit. Then the season kind of unfolds. You have a couple tough losses, and a couple tough moments And it's just like kind of like non-existent conversation. And then when you really look at it, you're like, I mean, Jordan Love, 70% completion percentage, 1,200 yards, 8.6 yards per attempt, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's the 6th highest rated quarterback, according to PFF. Has a passer rating of 110.9, right? And yet, like, no one's really talking about how great of a season he's having right now. No one's really emphasizing that at all. He has a higher passer rating than Baker Mayfield, higher completion percentage than Baker Mayfield. Baker's got him beat by a couple hundred yards. He's got more yards per attempt, 8.6, and a few more touchdowns. And it's just like no one's really talking about it as much. Everyone's amazed with how well Daniel Jones has been playing. And again, Daniel Jones is going to have different energy because of how he struggled. But, Jordan Love's playing better than Daniel Jones. And like, I don't know. It is interesting. Everyone's praising Patrick Mahomes, and I get it. His roster's been banged up. Although when his roster was banged up, he lost. He didn't win. What does that tell you? You tell me. But I mean, Patrick Mahomes has 64% completion percentage. Again, Jordan Love, 70%. A few hundred yards different for passing yards. 8.6 yards per attempt for Jordan Love. 7.1 for Patrick Mahomes. 11 touchdowns to 9 touchdowns. Both 2 interceptions. And the passer rating for Jordan Love is 110.9, as I said before. And Patrick Mahomes, 99. So it's just, but yet no one's really having honest conversations about Jordan Love being a top quarterback in the NFL right now. They're just not. They're kind of just, he kind of just gets thrown in that middle mix of quarterbacks where you're like, well, he's not Mahomes. He's not Josh Allen. He's apparently not Baker Mayfield. He's a great quarterback. He's not bottom. He's not Tua, right? He's not Tua. He's, in the middle. And it's like, where in the middle? It's like, I don't know. He's just, he's out there. And it's like, okay. And so, what comes with that is continuing to win bigger games. And I think winning bigger games competitively. Like, it would have bode better if it was a back and forth battle with the Detroit Lions and they won, right? Rather than it just feeling like it was an easy game, right? That felt like an easy game for Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. But like Baker Mayfield gets more credit, for instance, going back and forth in the battle against the Minnesota Vikings, not the Minnesota Vikings, against the Seattle Seahawks. Baker gets more credit for losing to the Philadelphia Eagles because it was like, I had to battle, I had to go up there, and it was like this thing, and so that what I feel is kind of hurting the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love specifically. And now they're playing, the Cardinals right now. So it's just like that also kind of becomes a lose-lose from a narrative because you're supposed to beat the Cardinals. And if you don't beat the Cardinals, well, then there's problems. It's like, well, wow, they lost to the Cardinals. They lost to the Browns, and it's like, what the heck? Why they tied with the Cowboys? Like the Carolina Panthers didn't tie with the Cowboys. Why did the Packers tie with the Cowboys, right? Like then the narrative kind of starts to get a lot messier. And if you blow the Cardinals, if you hang 42-7 on the Cardinals and Jordan Love has a perfect game, they'll be like, yeah, the Cardinals aren't that good this season. Their coach might get fired. Kyler Murray might get traded. Right? They're like, no one really thinks much about the Cardinals right now. Who's talking about the Cardinals right now? Nobody. So it's, it is interesting. I will always be fascinated how narratives get built within the sports world. And this is what's so fascinating about their schedule. Because Cardinals, whatever. Steelers, that's going to be a huge game, mainly because of Aaron Rodgers, right? And it's Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers, and Steelers, right? Like, that game will be popular and talked about, but for all completely different reasons. For not the reasons that we're talking here. And then you're playing the Carolina Panthers. It's like, hooray. The Eagles and the Packers will be fascinating. Are the Eagles falling down a well? Have they wrote the ship? Do they feel like they're good? Do they feel like they're a top team? If not, it'll be about the Eagles not being a good team, and so-and-so just got fired. They already fired their coordinator by this time, and now they're like, well, is John Smith even worse of a coordinator? And it kind of comes unraveling there. Again, even if the Packers dominate, it'll be like, yeah, well, so did the Giants. Who cares about that? And then lo and behold, you're playing the Giants. It's like, okay. And now you're back with the Minnesota Vikings, and it's like, is it Carson Wentz? Is it J.J. McCarthy? Like, again, the narratives continue to be fascinating. And then you're back to the Detroit Lions, and again, have the Detroit Lions reclaimed their spot as being like, hey, we're a great team, or did we just have a couple great wins against some bad teams, and we keep losing to good teams, right? Like, that'll be fascinating. And, and the Chicago Bears and the Broncos. So it's just like there really is no intense narrative building around this team and around Jordan Love. So I think they're going to continue to be under discussed. And let's say they keep winning, right? Let's say they keep winning, and let's say they have the top 1 or 2 seed in the NFL and they win the division, et cetera, et cetera. People will say, yeah, but look who they beat. You know, they beat the Cardinals. They beat the Panthers. They beat the Eagles, who didn't even make the playoffs, right? They beat the Vikings with J.J. McCarthy, who threw 2 interceptions. The Lions took a backtrack. The Bears are still struggling. The Broncos, you know, like it'll just be like, who did they really beat? Right. And so it's just, to me, the narrative as it continues to unfold will be absolutely positively fascinating. And there's a lot of teams that won the Super Bowl in years past that had similar narratives where it's like, yeah, they're a good team, but like, have they really beaten? You'll start to see them combine the records. You know, their record against teams with a winning record. You know, you'll see all that like distribution of it all. You know, although Brew's a fan of the Packers, so he won't say this, but it'll be like they beat up a bunch of tomato cans and whatnot. But yeah, and I just think that's just the makeup of the NFL right now. Things feel messy. I look at this schedule, I'm like, who are the Steelers? Who are the Eagles? Who are the Vikings? Who are the Bears? Who are the Lions? Who are the Broncos? Right? Who are the Ravens at this point too by December 28th? I got no idea. Who's the quarterback in the final game of the season, Packers versus Vikings, January 4th? Is it J.J. McCarthy or Carson Wentz? I don't know, and neither do you. So it's a fascinating time. It's a fascinating time, and I think the Green Bay Packers throughout this season are going to continue to be significantly under-discussed, specifically because of the games, who they're playing, and how these games are seemingly unfolding. And so I'm going to try my best to keep making as many Green Bay Packers videos as I can, because you guys know I love to talk about this Packers team and a lot of belief in Jordan Love and the Packers team as a whole. But it is tough, because I just know from my own personal perspective of making these videos and whatnot, it's like, what can I talk about? Can I talk about like a big exciting moment between which seemingly was exciting, the 49ers and the Bucks, right? It's like, who would have thought that would have been an interesting game? The Eagles getting annihilated by the New York Giants. Like, got to talk about that. The Chargers beating Miami, which normally wouldn't be that exciting, but considering that they've been so injured, falling apart, and then Justin Herbert having a heroic, game-winning pass and whatnot, and so it's like, it's easy to skip over. It's like, oh, who did the Packers play? Well, how did that game unfold? I have my notes, and you're just like, yeah, much ado about nothing crazy, nothing insane. And if there is anything crazy or insane, then it's a problem on the Packers. You're like, this shouldn't have taken this. This shouldn't have unfolded this way. So it does become a bit of a lose-lose situation, but I'm going to try to be better to find better, more interesting conversations about how some of this unfolds. But to me, from my viewpoint, just going into Sunday, it just feels like this should be, again, continue to be an incredibly straightforward game. And unfortunately, if there anything is to talk about this game, then that means something went wrong for the Green Bay Packers, right? Something, there was a turn that needed to not be turned. So hopefully it's a boring game. Hopefully there's not much to talk about, because that means it just went all positively for the Packers. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Jordan Love? What has impressed you the most about him and just this Packers team as a whole? How they've been discussed throughout the course of the season. 1 minute they're the best team in the NFL. The next minute they're like, I don't know, who are the Packers? I don't care. Doesn't matter. So let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.